Hi there and welcome to Sara's homestead and flower farm. I am Sara and I'm sitting in my garden, Oak Hill Cottage Garden in south of Sweden. This is one of two gardens that I care for. And it is a lovely afternoon in late September. The flowers I am surrounded with are starting to wilt. They have done its best for this season, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to give you a short summary of this season because it's been amazing. This season is like the best ever in this garden, and there are a few things that people have commented here in YouTube, but also like in real. People passing this garden and they catch me up in the local store, etc., to give me nice comments about the garden. My God, what it's flowering and it's so beautiful. How did you create this? And it's lots and lots of bees and the butterflies, etc. So people are very positive and send me nice love and care when they see this garden, and I so much enjoy it. And here at YouTube, you have also sent me a lot of questions about the flowers. So I wanted to talk a bit about the flowers and how I have planned and done the plantings for this year. But let's go back to spring 2019. In late March, I had my keys for this cottage for the very first time. I bought this cottage in March 2019, and this was very special because I didn't expect myself to buy a cottage, but I had the opportunity and I so much wanted to have this place. The garden then was just very boring, not taken care of for a very long time. So where I sit now, there was just a messy lawn, so it didn't grow that much grass either. And this was actually perfect for me because I wanted to start from zero and to build a new garden. And I decided, with help from a colleague, to start my new garden just in front of the house. There is not much space here for something to grow, but if I created a place here just beside the road, everyone could see it, and it would be a lot of positive things by that, because I have many followers who want to come to visit me and see my gardens. And having a garden just beside the road means that many people can watch it. So that has been a great thing. So I actually started by making this bed in April 2019. So this was the very first thing in this garden, this bed, then continuing with the beds I have in front of me. So I did, I think, 8 or 9 beds for vegetables and flowers the first year in 2019. When I created this garden, I tried to use things that I had at this place. I didn't want to buy anything or few things. So I used a kind of mix between no dig and the Sara way to get things done. So in just a few weeks' time or a few months, I simply had the beds I needed to start the season. And as soon as I had the beds done, I had lots and lots of plants that I filled up this space with. It was a beautiful place already year one, and I can tell you no one around here expected this this loaded place with beauty. It was so powerful, so much nice energy and, well, beautiful plants, both flowers and vegetables, of course. So this was like the very start of this garden with the beds and also the wood chips on the ground. And I had a lovely season in 2019. I had an even better season in 2020, and now it's the third season in this little cottage garden. I decided for this year to go for vegetables in only a small space, and I have made like a vlog series that you can follow here in YouTube about the vegetables. But I didn't share that many videos about the flowers. I have collected a few videos that we try to edit now in fall for you, where flowers are included. So Now let's talk about how I did the plantings with the flowers, how I grew them, etc. So you have asked me plenty of times how I started all the plants. Where did they come from? And did I, sow them myself, each and every one of them? And the answer is yes. There are thousands of plants in this garden. I haven't counted like how many beds I actually have, but a quick summary will make it like 9, 10, let's say 15 maybe or so. And there are plenty of plants in each bed. I have my garden at home with 3 greenhouses, and they have been so useful, of course, when it comes to sowings and transplanting plants, and how to keep and grow plants in springtime. So the first sowings that I did was actually winter sowings already in January, February maybe, when it was snowy and very cold at home. So I then started to sow some flowers in winter sowings that I kept outside in the snow. And besides that, I started some early sowings indoors too, because some plants have a very long, time where they develop in a pot before they are planted out in the garden. So you have to start very early with some of the plants, unfortunately, because it takes a lot of space, both indoors and also in greenhouses and outdoors. And it also takes a lot of energy and time to, move things from different places all the time, depending on weather and space, etc. So I started all of the plants in sowings, winter sowings indoors, and later in spring also in my greenhouses, the polytunnels at home, not in this garden, because it's very tricky to keep plants in here since I'm not at this place every day, but I had some plants here, but not that much. I then spent spring to prepare the beds. I put on new layers of mulch on top of the beds, and I also created a few places from scratch on the north part of the garden. I had to prepare some new beds. I do it with great joy. I just love doing that. And then I was very surprised by a very, very cold Swedish spring. So I ended up with thousands of plants ready to be planted in the garden, and there were simply no temperatures that allowed that until, let's say, the beginning of June. So everything was very, very late, and I was like quite sad about that because it delayed the flowering season. This year I have planted my flowers in groups and in rows because I had a wish this year to try to learn how to sell flowers to a florist in town. And I then figured out it would be easier for me to harvest things and to plan for this sale, to simply have the flowers in an area, the same type of flower at the same place. So this is what I ended up with, and it looks like this year. But in 19 and 20, I planted in a different way. I simply mixed all the flowers all together, and it looked just great. So there are different ways to do this. When planting in beds that are covered with mulch, with grass clippings, with silage, with straw, etc., I simply make a hole in this material. I put my plant in it, maybe together with some fresh compost, and I simply put the material close to the plant and I make sure that it's stuck in there, and then water quite much the first days so it settles in the material. And then comes the most boring part the whole season, waiting and waiting and waiting. And as I said, we started 2021 in summertime with quite cold weather. it was so frustrating to wait and to wait and to wait, because you know, when the plants are quite small, you have to pinch them so that they will grow and get more stems and more flowers later on in the season. So whenever some plants started to show a flower bud, I had to just pinch that off, and it was frustrating. But then in midsummer started to show some flowers, and we then had a really good weather too. So a nice mix between warm weather and combined with the fact that I have installed a drip irrigation for this garden. So I didn't have to think about watering one single time except when I actually did the planting. So for me that was perfect, because I could write my book, I could do my projects, and the garden like self-watered. So this is what I ended up with after months of sowing and planting things. A lot of work, of course, and so many plants to care for. In this case, it's not possible for me to direct sow things in this garden, unfortunately. And that would be a nice alternative if you don't have like greenhouses or possibility to start seedlings at home. Well, not that many anyhow. So if you want to, you can direct sow plenty of summer flowers also in the garden. But in my case, it's not possible for me to care for them and to water them and to make, you know, sure that the soil is still moist, etc., so that they germinate well. It's easier for me than to have plants because they settle in the ground easier. And now we are heading for the end of September, which means we are expecting frost. I have already had the first frost in my home garden, not yet here. This place is a bit more heated, so I expect frost maybe in a week or two, and then most of the flowers here are done. So the summer season is quite short in Sweden, so we really have to enjoy the flowers, the vegetables, the whole, you know, summer surroundings, etc., because that is what keeps us alive also in winter, when we can sort of live with the memories from this garden. And also, of course, try to improve the things for next season and change a few things and make things better in some ways. And I'm so much looking forward to it. I hope that this gives you a few answers on your questions on how I started the plants, etc. What you should know is that I didn't buy any plants for this garden. They are all started from seeds except the dahlias that are like tubers, and also the Jerusalem artichokes that are like tubers from last season. What I'm going to do now, when the season is ended, is that I cut down things, I dry a few things, but just most of it is going to the compost, and then I start next year's flower garden already now by planting perennials. So that is the next step, and I'm looking forward to see how that will be. Thank you so much for following Sara's Homestead and Flower Farm. And if you want to, please press the subscribe button, and I see you soon again. Bye.